Welcome to A Date with Darkness podcast, where I will be discussing the impact of hurtful and abusive relationships and how you can overcome them so that you can move through your pain to get the kind of healthy relationships you need, want, and deserve. I'm your host, Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed psychotherapist based in Oakland, California. While I hope that you find my podcast educational and entertaining, please note it should not be substituted for treatment with a licensed mental health professional. Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining the show. Today's the special Mother's Day edition of the show. And of course, I thought, I've got to definitely do a special podcast and a blog and a video for Mother's Day. As you know, this podcast focuses on healing from narcissistic relationships. And so as a result of that, this podcast episode is going to talk about how you can cope with Mother's Day, specifically if you've had a narcissistic mom. And this episode today is specifically for those who've been hurt and abused by their mom, and they've let go of that relationship, or they are in the process of letting go of that relationship, but they are focused on doing their own healing. As always, another disclaimer for this show is that people are in different stages of healing. And so if you find that this show does not work for you, or if it's particularly triggering for you, please know that you should skip ahead and omit this show altogether and maybe come back and listen to it or watch the video at a later time. That's perfectly okay. And so today I definitely want to follow up and talk with my listeners about how you can cope with Mother's Day if your mom is narcissistic, toxic, or if you currently have no contact with your mom. And the first thing I'd like to discuss is, if you've, going through holidays like this can be particularly difficult because these sort of holidays or days like this have been very commercialized. And so what I mean by that is that they're often in the store. There's all these signals that you should be buying stuff. You should be getting cards. You should be getting flowers. There could be even commercials on TV where you're prompted to, come in and get this or do that. Your friends can be talking about it on social media. And so you're getting all of these constant cues and signals that you should be celebrating this day in a specific type of way. You should be doing certain things to kind of fit in with the norm. And that in and of itself can be particularly triggering for folks. And this is just a reminder that you do not have to fit in the norm. You don't have to tune into that stuff. That stuff is filler, and it's designed to support a society based on material things, and also, with friends and things like that on social media. That's something totally different. But the more commercial stuff, like what you see on TV and in the prompts in the stores, that's definitely a design to get you to spend your money, whereas your friends are wanting to maybe celebrate and remember their mom. And there are you can certainly join them in celebrating that for them or not. It's really up to you, is what I'm saying. And so you do have the power to choose what, if anything, you want to participate in and or listen to or be subjected to around this holiday. And so, and working with you and talking with you about how you can cope with Mother's Day, one of the first things that I have listed here, and I'll just take, momentarily momentary glances at my list over here. So if you see me looking, that's what I'm looking at. The first thing I would recommend for my listeners is that you take time to understand what Mother's Day means to you. And it's kind of like what I was saying, like commercial, they have this day designed for shopping and spending money. Your friends want to, talk about their relationships with family and stuff like that on social media. But you need to decide what this day means for you. What meaning does it have for you? Reflect on that and be at peace with that. So for you, you may decide going forward that, yes, this is just a commercial holiday and I don't really celebrate commercial holidays. And so you may decide early on or at some point that, hey, I'm not buying into what the top 1% of society, the financial wealth wants me to buy into. This stuff is just commercial. It's just for financial stuff. I'm not really buying into that. Or you may even decide for you that, hey, this is a day that, I can remember the mom that I had, or, remember what I never had, or just take time for myself to kind of just be mindful of myself. I can mother myself on that day, but you need to decide what this day, and you need to understand what this day actually means for you. It could be a day of grieving. It could be a day just that you're resting. It could be a day where you're celebrating other mothers, right? And not necessarily your mom. You can celebrate. Maybe you are a mother, so this could be a day of celebration for yourself. It could be a day of celebrating your friends' moms or people that were like mothers to you, or even people at your job that are moms. You can say, I have a card for you or something like that. And I just want to celebrate you today and remind you that you're appreciated. And I just want to acknowledge that this day may be special for you. And so those are ways in which you can sort of understand or, define what this means for you. The second item that I would recommend for you is that you be authentic to your decision. A lot of times when we have mothers that are narcissistic or toxic, as a result of that relationship and the way that it's impacted us, we have to go into survival mode. Survival mode can be different for everyone. So that could be no contact, that could be limited contact, that could be just being superficial with your mom. It could be just calling on days like this, or it could be sending a card, or it could be sending an email and keeping that person at a distance. But regardless of what type of contact that you have, you need to be authentic and true to you. And not only that, but be authentic and true to you with how this shows up on this particular day. So whether or not you choose to celebrate this day or you don't, and you decide not to give your mother anything, again, that's something in which you should be very authentic to you and not really have any sort of qualms about that. You don't really have to justify that to anyone, because a lot of times people will try to, or outside influences, or maybe even siblings or extended family members will insert their own opinions and try to tell you how you should acknowledge or celebrate or recognize specific people. And what you can do is you can tell them that, hey, that's your opinion, not mine, and I'm going to stay true to what this is for me, and I'm going to stick to that. And that's perfectly okay as well. So just doing that would be great. Okay, the third item on my list is to recognize that you don't have control over the parents that you are born to. But you do have control over choosing the people that are in your life now, right now, today as an adult. Remind yourself of why you let go. So, as children or as people that are growing up in a family, once again, you don't have control over the types of family members that you were kind of born into. You kind of have to do what you have to do to survive your childhood. But as an adult, you then have the power to consciously choose whether or not you still want these people to be a part of your day, your life, and whatever's going on with you. And so you also have the power to say that, hey, no, you no longer serve me, you are no longer beneficial to me, or our relationship is no longer healthy or conducive to my mental health. So I can choose whether or not I want to be a part of this relationship or not. And so you can reclaim your power back and decide whether or not this is going forward, if this is going to work for you. You also, if you decide to let go of a mom, remind yourself of why you let go. A lot of times, sometimes we can get caught up in feeling guilty. Or we can sometimes forget when days like this roll around, and we can become somewhat nostalgic and just sort of remembering, or sometimes what happens is when someone is no longer a part of our life, or when they are less frequently a part of our life, we tend to romanticize good times, or we tend to long for that person. But in this instance, you want to definitely stay true to yourself and remind yourself why you let go. And this can also be helpful if you have people in your life that are trying to guilt you into reconnecting, or what I've seen or heard from other folks and saying, well, you have to respect your parents. You only get one parent, and you shouldn't be that way, or you shouldn't do this. You definitely have to be mindful of what's true to you, and remind yourself of, hey, this is why I made this decision in the first place, and I'm going to be true to that and honor that. The uh, fourth thing that I would recommend is to be conscious about what a mother means to you. Again, this goes back to what I was talking about previously. You don't know, or you don't have control over the type of mom that you were born to, but you do have the conscious decision to start thinking for yourself. Um, you know, I I have a different meaning in mind of what a mother means to me. And I believe that I deserve these types of qualities in a mom. And so I'm redefining for me what a healthy mom means to me. And so I'm taking a look at that. Um, and this is particularly important because, once again, you don't have control over the person that you were born to. But again, this does not mean that you can't allow other people in your life to come in and take on a mother-like role. And ideally, these would be qualities that are healthy for you, and the things that you feel like are very important to you, and that you've decided to allow back into your life, or allow into your life, excuse me, that's going to serve you, and that's going to, you know, satisfy that need for a mom for you. The fifth thing is this, and I will also recommend at the last topic, I will say this: be conscious of what a mother means to you, but also allow time, space for new people to enter that role. Sometimes we get stuck in the idea that, hey, you only have one mom, nobody can ever replace your mom. And this is not necessarily, I don't feel like this is necessarily true, because you can have people that can come into your life and replace something that you feel like was lacking or that you never have, but you have to create that space. And so you can recreate your mom. So just another thought there for you. Um, the fifth way in which you can cope with Mother's Day, if you had a toxic mom or a narcissistic mom, is create a positive space for you. You decide what that looks like, whether that means that you shut off social media or you kind of distract yourself by doing some creative things at home, or maybe you want to go out and celebrate other mothers in your life at a Mother's Day brunch, or you want to go over to their house, or maybe you've already done something throughout the week where you've sent a card and that's enough for you. But make sure this day is positive and fulfilling for you. You may also want to create distractions or diversions to kind of help you cope. Or you may want to kind of write about some thoughts that came up for you during the day, things like that, that you definitely want to be mindful of, and just kind of take care of yourself on that day. The next few steps I'm going to get into can be a little bit more complex and complicated. And, I definitely recommend a therapist, for, just in general. But for some of the more complicated steps, I would definitely recommend that you seek the support of a licensed professional, and also, too, get the support of someone who can just be there for you, a good friend, a sibling, mentor, someone who could just be there for you and kind of support you as well. So these next few steps can be a little bit tougher for some, but I definitely think they are doable with support. And again, they may not be for everyone, but these are things that I found helpful in terms of working with my clients also who struggle with this day. Um, the sixth suggestion that I have is to mourn the mother you deserved and let go. So again, that's mourn the mother that you deserved and let go. So a lot of times what we do is we have this idea in mind that we should have had, we deserved a certain type of mom. We deserved a good mom. We deserved a healthy mom. We deserved a nurturing mom. And these were things that were not provided to us. Maybe our mom was hurtful. Maybe our mom was abusive in many ways. But there was a part of us that may have been longing for that particular mom that we never got, and maybe we felt cheated, maybe we felt hurt, deceived. We might have even questioned God about why we never got the mom that we deserved, because I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to be treated that way. So part of mourning is giving up the idea that your mom, the one that you actually were born to, will actually become the person that you deserve. And also letting go of the idea that, that you didn't get the mom you deserved. Just sort of letting go. Some exercises that I could recommend in helping you mourn the mom that you didn't have, or the one that you should have had, would be like writing a letter about some of the hurtful things that you've experienced from your mom, or the way in which you didn't feel loved or appreciated, or even if those things don't feel safe, maybe how your mother made you feel overall. And it's not a letter that you have to send. In fact, I would recommend that you rip the letter up or burn the letter. That could be cathartic in a way, in terms of, that by that ripping the letter up or burning it could be letting go of all those negative feelings. And so, again, that could be part of your mourning and definitely part of your healing process. The seventh coping mechanism that I could recommend is that you, and this requires, again, being able to turn back and think of things in a positive way, but start thinking about what your mother missed out on, by being toxic and negative and abusive. What did she miss out on you? What are all the great things that you've done, or how have you become a good person in spite of, having a mother such as this? And write down all those things, like, she really missed out on what a great mom I became. She really missed out on how, I had this wonderful graduation. My mother missed out on, these things about me, these wonderful firsts, or all these great gifts that I have. And this is putting a positive spin back on you, but letting her know that she didn't cheat you. She cheated herself by missing out on the wonderful person that you've become. How did you grow stronger as a result of her not being there? And while this, again, is painful, just remind yourself that in spite of her not being there, in spite of her not being the mother that she could have, should have, or would have been, you still turned out great. You still turned out more than okay, and you did it all without her. So she really missed out on someone who's very strong, who's very resilient, very courageous, and somebody who is very beautiful. So just kind of reminding yourself that you are a good person in spite of this loss, but she missed out on you, and that's the biggest loss. Reflect on ways that you have been coping thus far. Sometimes we can forget when we're hit with days like Mother's Day, that you've already kind of been going along and coping without having a mom in your own way. In Mother's Day, we can forget because this day is kind of like in your face. And so there's like a plethora of reminders, like I said before, whereas on regular days, there's typically not, right? There's not this sort of hallmark or anniversary type of stuff. And so just sort of reminding yourself, hey, I'm pretty strong. I've been coping with this so far. And so just really sort of reminding yourself and reflecting on how have you been coping with it all this time, and deciding also too what's been working for you versus what hasn't been working for you. And let's start focusing on doing more of what works for you. The ninth tip that I have is to set yourself free. Again, this is a complicated step, and what I'm recommending here, again, and this again is not for everybody, but forgiving. Forgiving does not mean absolving that person of what they did. Forgiving is more about you and less about them. Forgiving means that you are going to cease your feelings of resentment and contempt, or that this person owes you something. So you're letting go by forgiving this. You're letting go of what was done, those feelings around resentment, contempt, hatred, all of those negative feelings, and say, you know what? My mother is who she is. Maybe she's not a good person, or she's just not the person to have in my life. for whatever the reasons may be. And I have come to accept that, and I just have to let that piece go. And I have to be okay with that so that I can now move on to the next chapter in my life and, maybe focus on and getting more positive people in my life, maybe becoming a mother yourself, or maybe just being in a good space where you're not dwelling on the hurt and the pain that that person caused. So again, that's more about um, just getting past those feelings and those strong negative feelings and focusing more on you, and getting to that next level. And this helps you to also mother yourself. And there's an exercise in which, I use with my clients in which I have them talk to themselves in a way that a mother would, in a kind and loving way, instead of replace it, their voice is then replacing that voice of their moms so that they can set themselves free and learn to love their inner child. And so that's what I would recommend there. The last thing that I would suggest is to remember that Mother's Day is temporary. The feelings that you feel regarding this day is temporary. Tomorrow is a new day. Next month is a new month. And you have a chance to kind of start over again, if you will, and this will pass eventually. It may not feel good right now. The hurting might not feel the way you want to feel right now. You might just want to hurry up and get past it, but allow yourself time to process how you feel and just know that this is only temporary. This does not last forever, and you will be okay. And you're going to move through this pain to get the kind of healthy relationships you want, need, and deserve. So, those are my 10 coping tips for Mother's Day for people who have hurtful mothers who are abusive, perhaps even neglectful, and not there, or no longer a part of their life for whatever the reason may be. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are about this episode. So please reach out and let me know at adatewithdarkness@gmail.com. And as always, please do come on over and join our Facebook group, A Date with Darkness group, on Facebook. Would love to have you there. Please do follow A Date with Darkness on Instagram, Facebook. And if you are interested, please do subscribe to my newsletter. That's on my website, adatewithdarkness.com as well. And so, as always, I appreciate talking with you and sharing this time with you. And until next time, be well.